Yo, what's good, y'all? UW back here again in 2019, bringing y'all more fresh new content, doing things that other people are not doing, not talking about. It is what it is. Now, it's been a little while since I did a power tournament. Powers tournament. I've done a couple others. You could definitely go check my channel because it's in recent months. There was one dealing with observational abilities, one dealing with movement abilities. And in case you're unfamiliar, in case you didn't check those out, in these power tournaments, will be obviously the third one. In these power tournaments, I will be addressing specific sets of abilities toward a specific goal, not to what's the most hacks, most OP, but what's the best suited ability, power, technique for that specific category. Okay, and keep that in mind. Right. This one, as you can see by the title, deals with versatility, which the other two were more basic. Now we're getting into the more nitty gritty, like tougher discussion. So you say versatility. Now, in case you don't know my three criteria, I deal with versatility being the first thing. Now, that seems like, bro, you're doing one in versatility, but one of your criteria is versatility. What do I mean by my criteria of versatility? Of how wide an array of effect you can do with this ability in the specific category. For example, if we're talking movement as another one, super speed, all right? How effective is super speed and as far as in movement? Okay, what all can you do with super speed as far as in movement is concerned? Number two, ease of usage and mastery. Now that's a vital one because something may be a killer technique or a killer thing. Now you've seen it through all the fiction. It may be killer, but you like, bro, that's some master level stuff that they gotta learn. It's a great technique, but it's a razor's edge of use. All right. For example, Hulk's level strength. Oh, that's all great and dandy, but you do realize it's gonna take a lot of work to use it super effectively. See what I'm saying? And third, or for example, if we're talking psychic abilities with telepathy, Charles Xavier, yeah, he's powerful as hell, but do you realize the damage you can do to yourself and others if you're not very skilled with that? So there you go. Third, effectiveness. Effectiveness. It's like throwing a punch. All right. Yeah, I can throw a little baby jab, or I can throw a haymaker. You get my point. Now, in this one, our we got, of course, this is a battle of 8, and we have 4, and the first round has 4 battles going at each other. The first one is reality warping versus time manipulation. The second matchup is sorcery versus psychic abilities. Third is logic warping versus kinesis. And don't worry, we'll break down briefly what each of these are because a lot of people think logic warping is under reality warping, and no, they are not the same by any stretch of the imagination. And the fourth one is power absorption versus shapeshifting, which that one is a very dicey one. All right, so reality warping. What is reality warping? Reality warping is pretty much the ability, and there's of course different levels to this. Reality warping is the ability to manipulate the forces, the laws of nature and the forces of physics, things like that. The forces of nature, the laws of nature, of mathematics, you know, all that kind of stuff. Pretty much all the way down to potentially the cellular, molecular, atomic levels. Um, it deals with the physical forces of the 5 natural senses, all right? The 5 empirical senses that we normally deal with. That's reality warping. Now, you may change something's molecular structure, you may change something's chemistry. That's when you're talking about reality warping. Now, as far as time manipulation is concerned, that's pretty damn simple. You got it for lower level to where you could slow down time potentially. You got it to where, you can speed up time. You got it to where going back in time, you get the point. You're messing with time. Now, some could say, isn't that reality warping? Not inherently. Not inherently at all. Somebody may be a localized reality warper, but can't even mess with the time stream. So there's that. As far as in the versatility of it, reality warping, like I said, you're dealing with, it's playing God to a lesser degree. It's playing God to a lesser degree. You have everything in the universe potentially at your disposal. You can change your molecular structure, so it would make you can potentially be invulnerable. Mess with your density. You could change that person to a cat potentially. You can almost damn near wish that person's out of existence. You could obliterate that person. You could pull a Doctor Manhattan on something on an atomic level. You could restructure. You could form things potentially out of thin air like weapons and stuff. So there's that. It has a boatload of versatility. It's one of the most versatile things, if not the most versatile ability you can have. Time manipulation, I would say, has a slightly less, because what you're dealing with is, and depending on your universe, you might start messing up the universe. Reality warpers, you have more control, I would say, in a variety of ways. So I would give it time manipulation. You're dealing with how fast things go. Now you may manipulate somebody's age, older, younger, but a reality warper's versatility can affect you even greater. So if you're going up against a reality warper versus time warper, now maybe a time warper can send you back into space. That's battlefield removal. Sure, you can de-age somebody. You can do things of that nature. You can put them in a stasis. You can make strike and win that regard. But a reality warper, okay, you put that reality warper in a stasis. The reality warper may just transfer the essence. May transfer the essence. Um, All right, you put them in stasis, they open up a hole in the earth and enclose you. Like it's a little bit more that you can do with reality warping. So I'll give the advantage there. Ease of use and mastery. I say that about reality warping's easier. It's slightly easier, even though it's more versatile and you have laws and issues. You're talking about dealing with time. You're talking about dealing with time. If you mess up, you can potentially create another timeline. All right, you localize time. Well, you have a potential greater effect of the world around you. We see in fiction less like reality warpers, we see plenty of them. We don't see as much screwed up. Or you can do be a reality warping on the thing of Aizen Sosuke, of where it's just as simple as perception. His perfect hypnosis Shikai, for example. You just mess with the perception of others. Like reality warping allows you not to have as much damage on the external world as time manipulation potentially does. So ease of usage, it definitely is in favor, even if it's ever so slightly, for reality warping. And as far as an effectiveness, again, gotta give it to reality warping. Even though time has the big guns, okay, you got the haymakers, but here's the thing. Reality warping has some stiff, it has all the other tools. Yeah, effectiveness of usage. It's effective if time can be used expertly well, but a weak time user versus a moderately decent, like not even a top tier reality warper is going to screw you up. Maybe a reality warper does something like telekinesis. What you do against that? What were you doing? What, stopping things? How much can you stop and for how long? You see what I'm saying? Like, so overall, reality warping just wins this one hands down. Second battle, sorcery versus psychic abilities. Now, here's the thing. Sorcery is so wide open that it would take me years to explain. Potentially, if we talk about all the abilities, like that's an entire book's worth of explanation. But sorcery, we're talking about the dark arts. We're talking about things like necromancy, potentially. We're talking about clairvoyance. We're talking about rituals, potentially. It gets a little dicey, but kind of rituals. We're talking about demonic arts. We're talking about pretty much bare and simple black magic is what we're doing without going into in depth. If you've seen fiction, you know what sorcery brings to the table. It brings all kinds of things. When it comes to psychic abilities, we're talking telekinesis, we're talking telepathy, we're talking um, mind wiping and things of that nature. All right. Versatility, sorcery. Sorcery, like reality warping, is easily two of the most versatile usage in fiction. Now, that doesn't mean psychics aren't versatile, but they don't even come. I mean, there's psychic shields, there's projections to the astral plane. There's like probably about 10 things I can do. Sorcery has hundreds of things you can do with sorcery. So it's not even in the ballpark. When it comes to ease of usage and mastery, I have to go psychic. While sorcery, see, psychic, high levels of psychic usage is dangerous. But sorcery, you can summon something and wipe out a city casually. Like you could create a plague. Like you gotta really know what you're doing to be a true sorcerer or sorceress. So there is that ease of usage. Definitely, even though psychic is nothing to play with, it's nowhere near the ramifications if you screw up with sorcery. So they're 1-1 there. As far as an effectiveness, this is like splitting hairs because sorcery, you have so many different types of things. But at the same time, you have to be highly skilled to make it highly effective. Something like Dr. Stephen Strange or Brother Voodoo or something like that. Okay? If you are a weak sorcerer, you getting fodderized by a psychic. A psychic can read potentially into the future. A psychic can read you. A psychic can do potentially telepathy, again, mind wiping. A psychic can do telekinesis. And what's a slow, weak ass sorcerer gonna do? Someone that got even basic telekinesis, or someone who can pull a force choke on you or something. See what I'm saying? So, surprisingly as enough, Psychic is a bad matchup for sorcery. He's a terrible matchup for sorcery. So I have to give the edge to Psychic. All right. Third matchup: Logic warping versus Kinesis. Logic warping is different from reality warping in this. Remember, I said that reality warping deals with the forces of nature themselves. Well, logic warping deals with the logic of a world or universe or multiverse, depending on what you want. For example, Antarctica, characters can't really fly. It's just not what they do with gourmet cells and whatever. Logic warping, you'll see a character can be able to fly like he's Tinkerbell or Peter Pan. All right, just cause. All right. When it comes to Dragon Ball, they use ki and sometimes magic, but it plays on a similar vein. But what you don't see is you don't see reality warping on that regard. Logic warping would be like, okay, so let's say Son, Goku, and Vegeta are Super Saiyan Blues, right? And they're coming at me, and they're more powerful than me. But logic warping is like a flip of the switch. TN is now has the ability to go Super Saiyan Blue, just cause. A great example of small time logic warping is if you watch Looney Tunes, right? Bugs Bunny, he literally will make a circle or a hole in the ground, fall into, just out of nowhere, can just make a hole in the ground. You see this a lot with gag characters. Well, logic is just broken. The logic of the series is broken. He'll make a hole in the ground, and Elmer Fudd tries to go into that hole and just faces pure dirt. That's logic warping. Where that ain't reality warping. That's logic warping. That goes against the very established laws of it. Also, while you see it with Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, you see logic warping. They're just localized. A lot of people think it's reality warping, but it's not. They're not actually manipulating the laws of physics itself. The laws of physics are still in place. They literally just minutely change the laws of the logic of the series of the world at which they are in. Kinesis. Kinesis is the ability of movement. The forces of the physics, Newtonian motion. All right. Gambit. We see Gambit deal with kinesis. That's his power. He deals with the kinetic. He changes the potential kinetic energy into kinetic energy. All right, potential energy into kinetic energy. Kinesis, you're talking about inertia. You're talking about push, pull, drag, thrust, lift, gravity, all that good stuff. That's it. So, logic warping. As far as in versatility, logic warping. Now, kinesis is very versatile. It's one of the most versatile abilities, but logic warping, dude, you're breaking the logic of a series, of a world, of a universe, of a multiverse potentially. You're playing with the logic itself, which is insanity, or beyond insanity, as one should say. So just have to go the edge with logic warping. Now, as far as an ease of usage and mastery, I have to go with kinesis all day, every day, because logic warping, you only usually see people at levels. You only see levels like I mentioned, Bugs Money, or do a localized logic warping. Kinesis, I mean, you see people, if they're decently good, they're affecting a citywide area. You don't see a lot of logic warpers unless they're in high levels of power, manipulating anything beyond immediate vicinities, really. So ease of usage definitely. Also, if you're talking about manipulating the logic itself, that's crazy potential destructive capacity. Now, as far as effectiveness, this one's tough. This one's really tough because you have two ones that are so different in different lanes that it's hard to compare. Because on one hand, you're dealing with manipulating how things work itself, versus you're dealing with something like that can potentially freeze someone's own and just kill them because it stopped the motion of something on some absolute zero status. You're talking about something that can affect the entire plane. But here's where it comes down to, and here's where logic warping slightly beats out kinesis. Logic warping is a lot easier to affect on a large range scale of multiversal than is kinesis. Because, okay, let's say you stopped everything in kinesis. Well, if you have a powerful enough reality warper magician, they might be able to, or someone who's time manipulation, like you can rewrite that. Logic warping is on some Mad Jim Jaspers level. Look him up. I know Comics Explained talks about him a lot. Logic warp is on some Mad Jim Jaspers where you're rewriting how things work on some cartoonish stuff into potential pure absurdity. Kinesis can't deal with pure absurdity. You could potentially say, okay, you have the power, almighty power of motion in this form of reality. Let me make not 2 plus 2 equals 4. Let me make 2 plus 2 equals 5. And so now you don't have as much control. You see? So logic warping trumps it because of area of effect and because of the fundamental elements that it messes with. Kinesis is practically all powerful, like reality warping in its own system, but logic warping just goes a step above and beyond. So logic warping wins this one barely. Final matchup of the first round. Power absorption and shapeshifting. Power absorption should be pretty simple. Kevin Levin, um, um, what's his name? Creole Carl, the absorbing man. Like you literally are absorbing a material or some rogue status where she literally takes your life force and whatever abilities and memories you have. Power absorption is very simple. When it comes to shape shifting, again, very simple. You are shifting, whether it be the molecular or cellular structure, you are pulling a potential mystique where it's just appearance alone, or you could potentially transform into another creature altogether. So there's that. Now, as far as the versatility of power absorption, I mean, depending on if we're doing the no limits, you're literally taking any ability away from something. On something as simple as Kevin Levin, where you're just taking an absorbing man, where you're just taking materials from around you, or absorbing man had got to the level where he could even drain um, the Hulk's gamma radiation, so you could potentially do that. Now, a lot, and then you have 2.0 Rogue. Now, you have a lot where there are limits, but if we're doing a no limits, then you can drain godlike powers. All right. So, power absorption is as versatile. It's pretty simple and straightforward, but you're just elite. You're on some parasite status where you just sucking away. Who knows? And y'all don't take that the wrong way. Now, as far as the shape shifting, this one less versatile. You can shape shift into a creature, maybe change your molecular structure to be water or something along those lines, but it does not compare to something with as wide range as what power absorption gives you. Shape shifting is more on the physical side, and it affects you. Power absorption is affecting others, the world around you. But here's all right, ease of usage and mastery. Oh, absolutely shapeshifting. Shapeshifting wins leagues and bounds above power absorption. It takes forever for people with power absorption abilities to get good, son. To use a gamer term, to get good. It takes them a long ass time. It's very difficult. When it comes to shapeshifting, it may take them a while, but I mean, we've seen too many series from Dragon Ball dealing with the Uzaru. We've seen plenty of lichens, werewolves, all kinds of things that people transform into, to where they do a pretty damn good job of, manipulating their newfound abilities and powers. And plus, since they're not relying on other stuff, they kind of have the advantage in the fight. And so the effectiveness. This is tough because on the one hand, you can absorb another person's ability, but this is more so the touch. Shape shifting is a natural, unless it's like based on lunar stuff. But if we're taking the caps off like we are for power absorption, you're literally it's you. It's you, and you could potentially, if you're good enough, you might transform into gas. Like so, you can transform your density. You could transform, different body parts and stuff. This is like the most even matchup because it's a pick your poison kind of thing. It's like if let's say if you're playing basketball, okay, and you decide to a team of bigs and you just bang down low, just feed the big man, feed the big man, feed the big man, versus sharpshooters on the outside. Yeah, you can get more points, power absorption on the outside potentially, but you have the old, true, reliable, faithful of the big man on the inside. So it's really hard, really, really difficult. Um, I'm going to have to go. I want to say power absorption, but I'm going to have to go against that and say shapeshifting, and here's why. Power absorption, too many things can go wrong, or you're too reliant on others' powerful abilities. Shapeshifting, dude, like you could potentially send some like make your arm gas on some a vapor man or something and choke somebody out. You can do so much stuff with shapeshifting abilities that you can't do with power absorption. Power absorption relies too much on other abilities rather than your own. Shape shifting is your own ability, and that's a mastery of something you can't take that away. So I have to go with the shape shifting on that one. All right, so going into round two, we have reality warp versus psychic abilities. Versatility. Reality warping is broad. It definitely just like sorcery, it easily wins over psychic. And I don't think I have to rehash as to why. Psychic is too limited compared to manipulation of the laws of nature themselves. And in case you want to debate that, go look at Magi the Labyrinth of Magic and what King Solomon and Aladdin did. All right, go read that manga and see what they're doing, where they can just with a flick of a finger. Look at the flick of the wrist, where they can just flick away attacks and stuff. It's ridiculous. As far as in ease of usage, gotta go with psychic. Gotta go with psychic. Reality warping, to be super effective on those levels, you're potentially manipulating the laws of the universe. Psychic, not so much. So that one I'll have to go with psychic. And as far as effectiveness, Reality warping. Reality warping. Psychic is nice. It gets things done, but reality warping says, look, I can change you into a rabbit. Psychic, I can mind wipe you, I can do these things, but it takes a lot more effort. That's why the psychic mutants, they're powerful as hell, but they be having amps a lot of times with like the Phoenix Force. Alright. You see how long it took Jean Grey to get good. Alright. That's not a shocker. So there is that. Now, when we go into the second matchup, we have logic warping versus shapeshifting. This one is almost not fair. All right, so versatility, logic warping, without question. Logic warping, you're potentially manipulating everything beyond even the laws of nature itself. Shapeshifting, you can manipulate yourself, maybe change yourself, but you're not going beyond yourself. So that limits shapeshifting's versatility. When it comes to ease of use and mastery, shapeshifting wins this one hands down, not even a question. Again, it's a lot easier. Like you see a lot more localized logic warpers than you do shapeshifters. Shapeshifters are nasty when it comes to it, and they can get good pretty quickly. When it comes to because they don't have to worry about everything else around them. When it comes to effectiveness, y'all know it's logic warping. Logic warping beats out shape shifting because shape shifting is advantage is its personalized use is a disadvantage versus something like logic warping. Logic warping can open a door into another dimension, what shape and just close you off and suffocate you and add water in there. What is a shapeshifter supposed to do it against? They might be able to punch you. How are they gonna break out of another dimension? Logic warping adds too many like has too many questions, and shapeshifting doesn't have enough answers for it. So we get into what you would expect: reality warping versus logic warping. Versatility, logic warping. As I've explained before, logic warping deals beyond what the realms of what reality warping brings to the table. Ease of usage and mastery goes to the reality warpers because the reality warpers we see them in a multitude. We don't see that many on logic warping, and that's not a coincidence because a lot of reality warpers, well, logic warpers have reality warping. It overlaps, right? But you don't see that many logic warpers because you're going beyond potentially multiversal constants. Now, as far as an effectiveness, sorry reality warpers, but you just get trumped by logic warping. So by and large, in the versatility, logic warping, which should not be a surprise to anyone coming in this one, gets this W. If you disagree, please let me know in the comment section and explain. Let me know any other power tournaments that you want to do. Unexpected Wonder, like, comment, subscribe, tell me your thoughts. And have a beautiful night. Beautiful night. Peace, y'all. It's gonna be fun for definitely the next few tournaments.